The land groaned under the weight of iron shackles. For 40 years, the Philistines had ruled over Israel with cruel mastery, their chariots thundering across the plains, their temples mocking the God of Abraham. The people whispered prayers in the dark, begging for deliverance, until one night, the heavens answered. In the small village of Zorah, a woman long barren knelt in the dust of her home, her tears carving paths through the dirt on her face. The angel of the Lord appeared like a blade of lightning, his voice shaking the walls. "You will conceive a son," he declared. "No razor shall touch his head, for he is chosen from the womb. He will begin to deliver Israel from the Philistines." And so, Samson was born not with the cry of an ordinary child, but with the coiled silence of a storm waiting to break. By 18, Samson was a force of nature. His shoulders could bear the weight of oxen, his hands could splinter oak. But it was not his strength that first marked him, it was his defiance. When he set his eyes on a Philistine woman from Timnah, his parents pleaded, "Must you take a wife from our enemies?" But Samson's will was iron. "Get her for me," he said, "for she is right in my eyes." On the road to Timnah, a lion roared from the thicket, its golden eyes locking onto him. The beast lunged, muscles rippling beneath its tawny hide, but Samson met it with bare hands. The struggle was brief, brutal. With a final wrench, he tore the creature apart as if it were parchment. Days later, passing the carcass, he found bees nesting in its ribs, honey glistening in the sunlight. He scooped it into his hands, laughing at the irony, life from death, sweetness from slaughter. At his wedding feast, surrounded by 30 Philistine men, Samson smirked and offered a riddle. Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strawn came something sweet. The stakes? 30 fine robes. For 3 days, they gnashed their teeth, until his bride pressed against him in the night, her tears hot on his chest. "You hate me," she whispered. "You've told them nothing." Wearied, Samson relented. The next morning, the Philistines grinned. "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson's blood turned to fire. He stormed to Ashkelon, killed 30 men, and paid his debt in blood-stained linen. When he returned, his bride had been given to another. The vengeance that followed was swift and terrible. He tied torches to the tails of 300 foxes and unleashed them into the Philistine fields. The harvests burned like the wrath of God. The Philistines came for him then, 1,000 strong, their spears glinting like teeth. Samson stood alone in the hollow of a rock, unarmed, outnumbered. Then his fingers closed around the bone of a dead donkey, dry, cracked, insignificant. What followed was not battle, but butchery. The jawbone rose and fell like a scythe. Bodies piled like sheaves of wheat. By dusk, Samson stood atop a mountain of the dead, his breath ragged, his laughter raw. With the jawbone of a donkey, he gasped, "I have made donkeys of them all." But even as the people hailed him, a hollowness in his chest grew. Strength was not enough. Then came Delilah, her voice like silk, her eyes like daggers. The lords of the Philistines had promised her silver, enough to drown in. "Tell me, my love," she murmured, tracing his brow, "what is the secret of your strength?" 3 times he lied. 3 times she woke him with a scream, "The Philistines are upon you." And then, on the 4th night, her tears fell like poison. "How can you say you love me," she wept, "when your heart is close to me?" Something in him broke. "No razor has ever touched my head," he whispered. "If I am shorn, I will be as weak as any man." That night, as he slept with his head in her lap, the shears bit into his hair. The Philistines poured in, their hands like vultures. For the first time in his life, Samson strained, and his strength did not answer. They pinned him down, laughing, and took his eyes. Blind. Broken. A spectacle. The Philistines dragged him to Gaza, bound him in bronze, and set him to grinding grain like an ox. The people spat as he passed. "Where is your God now, mighty Samson?" But in the darkness, his hair began to grow. They brought him to the temple of Dagon, the air thick with the stench of sacrifice and sweat. Thousands of Philistines jeered as he was paraded between the pillars. "Our God has delivered our enemy," their king crowed. Samson, his face gaunt, his shoulders still broad, leaned against the pillars. The crowd's laughter was thunder. Then, softly, he prayed. "O Lord, remember me. Strengthen me just once more." A breath. A silence. Then power surged through his veins like lightning. He braced his hands against the pillars and pushed. Stone screamed. The roof buckled. "Let me die with the Philistines." And the temple fell. They found his body in the rubble, half-buried, his face strangely peaceful. In death, he had killed more than in all his years of life. For 20 years, he had judged Israel. A man of fire and flaws, of divine strength and human weakness. And so the legend passed into memory. The strongest man who ever lived, and the price of his fall. But in the end, even Samson's brokenness could not erase his purpose. For deliverance often comes through unlikely hands. The end.